Hello, guys. Sorry for my delay. I was supposed to put this up on Tuesday. So just so you know, anything I'm expanding upon with this is not going to be, you're not going to be called upon in our discussion board or some of it will be on the exam or the next quiz on exam, sorry. But that will be 2 Sundays from now. So I have a problem with the book's take on gender communication because I feel like it's completely antiquated. The book was originally written in 2011. It's been readapted a couple times, but it's still just like behind. So I'm going to put a couple of articles up and a TED Talk that kind of is a little bit more progressive and current, and I feel like is going to be more effective when it comes to understanding gender differences, really just different communication habits, patterns, things that occur in the business realm. Sorry, that's going to drive me crazy. But for the most part, these are all, they're stereotypes mostly. So the thing about it is that a lot of the stereotypes that exist within genders are things that we've been conditioned to do, and especially in the workplace. So when I go through these, just know, no one is confined to communicate in a certain way because of their gender or where they're from or their age. Okay. You have the ability to communicate however you feel comfortable. And I don't want anyone to think, women are supposed to do this or men don't do this properly, or one's right or one's wrong. It's just an assessment of what they find through studies is common, but it doesn't mean that we have to stay there. And it also means, we can grow and evolve and change and do better. So there's a TED Talk that I am going to put up from, I think it's from TED Talk Zurich. You guys know that they do these TED Talks all over the world. And she kind of talks about different gender stereotypes in leadership and the gender gap in leadership. And so basically the big thing on that is that there's a lot of similar communication. It's the same behavior that exists in leadership from both genders, but it gets interpreted differently. So we have these stereotypes that men are managers of business and women manage people. And so we've talked about those different type of leadership roles and leadership styles, task orientation versus people who are relationship oriented. And so there's a conception or a preconceived notion that men are one way, women are the other. And I just want to kind of push you to move beyond that, because it even exists within our discipline apparently, and within the School of Communications. And I think we're past that in society, and we're moving past that, and we're growing past it. So I just want to take y'all along on the journey with it, and hopefully our textbooks and our course work will start to evolve as well. And I'll put these terms in some notes for you guys with links to different articles. The only thing I'm really want y'all to, I need you to watch is the TED Talk. And the other ones I just am putting up they're just interesting pieces of communication and articles that are specifically about the terms I'm using. So if you just need a deeper understanding of that, that's going to help you. So the terms that we are talking about for gender are, let's see, there's 4 of them. It is, and these are called conversational rituals. So these are things that we habitually do when we're communicating with people, right? So rituals, norms, things that are a continuance in the way we talk to one another. Okay, so there's 4 of them. There's 4 types of conversational rituals. And there's the ritual apology, ritual opposition, compliments, and small talk rituals. So ritual apology, ritual opposition, compliments, small talk. Those are the things that they have in communications, they have found are the biggest gender gaps for men and women. So apologies, women tend to apologize more in a work setting. We tend to use less matter-of-fact language. We will say things, deliver an eloquent speech and say, is that okay? We'll check for nonverbals to make sure people are comfortable after we've delivered something, as opposed to just frankly delivering something without offering any sort of apology or discomfort as to how someone feels. We are conditioned to be more apologetic and to worry more. about others' interpretations of that, of us. And so it carries into communications and it carries into the workplace. Men do this less. They apologize less. They use more matter of fact, frank language. And men tend to interpret women apologizing as being an actual apology and being sorry about something. A lot of times when we habitually say, I'm sorry, we don't mean we're sorry. We mean maybe we're sorry for the way we communicated, not for how we feel or the facts that we delivered. And so it is very important to try to take apologetic wording out of that type of work communication, because it can misconvey how you feel. If you're not sorry about what you said or you're presenting facts, then there's no need to apologize for how it makes people feel. Facts are facts, right? There's certainly something to be said about using kinder wording and perhaps apologizing for the way you communicated or delivered something, but not apologizing because maybe someone doesn't like what you said. If it's a fact, it's a fact. So you don't need to say, I'm sorry afterwards, after you deliver a fact to someone. So that is ritual apology. Men tend to apologize less at work. They don't seem to worry as much about if what they said hurt someone's feelings or if it came across in the wrong way. They tend to just shoot straight from the hip more and worry less maybe about how that could make someone feel, which is why when sometimes women are more frank or matter of fact, they get a bad rap for being too abrupt or abrasive. And, there's a lot of negative words that I could use that are not school appropriate. So when women adapt to that type of conversational style, they're kind of perceived as terse and unpleasant. And so let's move past that. It's 2021. We're progressing, and we're progressing past women are supposed to talk like this and men are supposed to talk like this. The other thing is that this doesn't allow space for men to also be compassionate, in my opinion. For us to say men are supposed to talk frankly and unapologetically, it doesn't allow them to be compassionate and to be acknowledging of how they talk and how it can affect the people around them. So I want us to grow past that. Ritual opposition that's the next step. Okay, the next thing that differentiates gender communication. Ritual opposition. Men have no issue playing the devil's advocate, and women think it might be a challenge to their idea or be a rejection. So an article that I found that I thought summarized it really, really cleanly. When men communicate, they often offer opposing stance to get things done. Instead of supporting the speaker's position, they draw out opposing points and flaws to bring new ideas into the discussion, okay? So they're gonna be more apt to present problems with someone's ideas and say, this won't work because blank, or these are the issues with that idea. Women tend to do that less. Because women, what the wording was, women are socialized to build rapport through supporting people and bringing in new ideas in a way that saves face for those people. So the approach to them, we tend to view verbal sparring like that as rejection of our ideas or criticism. When someone says questions kind of our methods or questions what we did, we think it's a rejection, as opposed to men just think, here are the issues with that plan. And so this is why when I go in and I talk to someone about a plan for LinkedIn, and I run a LinkedIn page for someone, and they guide me or reinterpret or ask me questions or say they don't like certain things about something, I feel like it's a rejection of my ideas versus they're saying like, oh, well, here's the one thing that you need to just fine tune. I can take it personally at times. So it's not meant to be personal when somebody draws attention to a flaw in your idea. And so, don't take it personal. Okay. Compliments is the third different ritual that we differentiate on. Women use compliments more. And they do it, we return compliments out of obligation. So women are more likely to, if someone walks into your office and say, I really like your sweater, they'll say, oh yeah, I love your, your jacket or your skirt or whatever. We feel the need to return compliments. Men don't do that as much. And so it's ingrained in us to give rapport or exchange in compliments, and men are just a little bit better at just taking compliments. So if you have a problem taking compliments, next time someone says something nice to you, do yourself a favor and just say thank you. You don't owe them a compliment back. That's a habit that a lot of us have. It's not, again, the book says women versus men. These are just conversational. These are rituals that we all have as individuals. So the next time someone offers you a compliment, you do not owe them a compliment back. Just say thank you and then move on. You don't owe someone a response to that. It's just something that we get used to feeling like I have to be nice back and pleasant back. You can just say thank you. The last thing that differentiates gender is small talk rituals. So it's women use rapport talk, and men, it's rapport, R-A-P-P-O-R-T. Okay. And women use rapport talk. So that is more about information, relational information, that type of thing, which is why women in the workplace will probably talk more about their families or their boyfriends or their children, that type of thing. And men are more focused on report talk, report, R-E-P-O-R-T, which is why you'll see them around the water cooler or whatever is a metaphorical water cooler talking about sports facts or vacation places or golfing, that type of thing, where they just tend to talk more about facts and the other side is feelings. So you have facts on one side of a conversational ritual and you have feelings on the other one, and a small talk ritual. And some people tend to talk about feelings more and some people tend to talk about facts more, but they're on different ends of the ritual spectrum, if that makes sense. So this is why often women will talk about, you hear women talk about how men's conversations are shallow or boring, or they're not expressing emotions, they're not expressive enough. And then men sometimes will get annoyed that women's conversational topics are just too personal. They're bringing too much of their personal life into a workspace. Again, these are things that the book says are men versus women, but I just find that they're two different ends of the conversational spectrum that people tend to lend themselves to. So how do you adapt if you're one side of the spectrum or the other in either of those things? So let's say you're a more matter-of-fact, direct speaker. You're not a big feeler. Let's say you're trying to speak to someone who is more on that end of the spectrum. They speak more from emotion. They are more apologetic. They're more an emotional person versus a fact-driven person. So number one, we have to know that everyone has different conversational rituals, and that sometimes the way we talk can be perceived as negatively, or it can be confusing to someone who speaks and talks from a different lens. So we have to know that people have different styles of conversation. They talk differently, and different industries. There are people who, I went into engineering at Lockheed Martin, and that's very much report talk, direct facts. Not a lot of feelings going on talking about the engineering of airplanes. So I had to really adapt to making less small talk with the engineers of Lockheed Martin. Okay, you also want to monitor others' nonverbal behaviors to see how they interpreted what you said. Monitoring nonverbals is a little bit more complicated than that, though. The book is just like, oh, pay attention to people's nonverbals. Well, you have to understand what their nonverbals represent when they're listening to you or giving feedback. So we're going to talk more about that in another chapter. Now these are two more points that irritate me. It's like if you're male, if you're female, whatever. Okay, so if you're someone who is non-apologetic and you don't use apologies often and you don't mind ritual opposition, try to when you're talking to somebody who is on the other end of that conversational spectrum, okay? So what they're saying is if you're male, try using apologies and rapport talk, making small talk with women more. It says Sorry, y'all. I just can't right now with this. It says a woman will likely appreciate it if you temporarily suspend ritual opposition and report talk rituals when communicating with her. That's not always true. I don't mind talking straight business. So, and I don't want to speak for the women in the class and say how they feel or think, but you don't have to make small talk or talk about feelings and emotions with women to make their work experience more pleasant. I can't. Like, we're just humans. Like, we're all human beings. I don't know why we have to like differentiate these different things, like women, men, blank. We're all human beings, okay? If you're female, this is what the next thing that the book said. If you're female, try using ritual opposition and report talk when communicating with a male. So if you're a woman and a feeler, I guess what this is saying, if you're a woman and you're too feely, a man will likely appreciate if you temporarily suspend ritual apology and report talk. So men will appreciate if you don't make small talk and you deliver the facts to them. So maybe let's just all try to meet in the middle and understand everyone's wired differently, whether it's the fact that we're men or women, or we come from different cultures, or we were raised differently, or religion, we were raised to speak differently, or perhaps our parents in our household raised us to talk to certain people in positions of authority, or we've been conditioned within the industry that we're in to speak a certain way. So I appreciate what the text is saying about people from different cultures communicate different ways, people from different walks of life. We all have a different lens and a different way we talk. The biggest thing is to be adaptable. It's not to stereotype people and say, this is because you're a woman, or it's because you're Greek, or it's because you're this age, or it's because blank. People are who they are, and we should all be given the benefit of the doubt that we have the ability to adapt to other people. So I want to take that microchip out of anyone's brain that says certain people communicate certain ways because blank. And I think that's kind of where this chapter leads a little bit, and it paints a very broad brush. And I just wish it had done a little bit better, and hopefully maybe in the next edition it will do better. But I also want you guys to start searching yourself with how you talk to people in your industry who are different than you, and find ways to adapt to how they talk. Because yeah, some of my richest work experiences have been with people from me who were very different. I went to grad school with people who were debate coaches. They came from all over the country. I was an extremely conservative small town girl from Texas, Hill Country, and I went to George W. Bush's first inauguration. That will tell you how old I am. I went to grad school with people who came from all over the country. They were speech and debate coaches that sat in my classes. They were extremely liberal, had very opposing viewpoints of mine. And when it started, I did not like communicating with those people because we had such strong opposing views. I'm a completely different person because of the ability to get to know those people and to adapt and to listen to them and to understand them better. And some of it had to do with the region they were from, or their parents, or some of it had to do with the type of education they had, why they had different opposing views from mine, but they were valuable, very valuable. And it was really important that I spent time with people who had opposing views to mine and who came from different parts of the world, because I had lived in a very small bubble before that. So I want to encourage you to be able to grow that way for yourself. And so I will put that article or the link to the TED Talk up to correspond with this. Again, this is not about me testing you on this TED Talk or on these articles that I'm going to attach, but it's just a deeper dive into understanding gender. Gender is a big thing. And I also know the conversation of gender is very evolutionary in our culture and our society. So I want you guys to be a part of moving that along. And also, you're welcome to email me with anything you disagree, or things that maybe hit home with you that you thought, that maybe were things that reflected directly back on a work experience with you. So you are welcome. You are always welcome to debate and disagree with me. And I welcome it, and I appreciate it, and I like that discourse. And so if anything I said you disagree with, you can email me. I'm not offended easily, and I enjoy a good chunk of insight. So I hope y'all have a good weekend, and I'll leave this up, through your next quiz in case you need anything from it. And I will also list those 4 terms in the notes on this. So be blessed. Y'all have a good weekend.